There is a lot of tradition, there is a lot of strength because of that tradition, but tradition alone isn't enough. It's important, it's valuable, it gives the place a good deal of its identity, but universities are fascinating institutions because in some sense they are, in the etymological sense, conservative. They conserve knowledge and they purvey that, but they also create knowledge. And so a university that is not interested in forging change isn't living up to its basic premise.
Michael Halleran assumed the role of Provost of the College of William & Mary in July. He arrives well acquainted with the college's broad tradition. He is excited about the possibilities for moving forward. During a recent conversation, he made clear his commitment to the liberal arts tradition while identifying the college's new strategic plan as a vehicle for achieving progress.
You go back really far, and I'm a classicist, so I can go back there quite happily. What a liberal arts education meant was really two things. One was the education befitting a free man, and this obviously ties up with a period in Roman society. Liber, liberal, is a Latin word, where there are free men as well as slaves. But it's also, and this takes up with the Roman philosopher Seneca, it is the education that makes you free. And that, I think, is an important value in that term, liberal arts. It frees you from ignorance, it frees you from intolerance, it frees you from narrow-mindedness. It expands not only the areas in which you study, it expands the ways in which you think about them.
Strategic plans. Faculties are notorious for the resistance of such efforts. How do you sell the process?
You know, strategic planning is something that I think in the academy we're still not fully comfortable with. It's a process that comes out of the business community. It was associated initially with things like downsizing, so it makes people nervous. But the fundamental premises of the process are very good ones. They're salubrious. They say that you should, every now and then, take stock, think about what you are currently doing, what you want to do, reflect on that, think about what are the most important aspects of your aspirations, and then how would you implement them. So those are good things.
The strategic plan deals with diversity. Why does diversity matter?
It matters because we are a diverse society, and that's the premise of a university. This is the cauldron of ideas, of possibilities. American society, I would argue, has what cultural anthropologists call a charter myth, which is what is that story that sort of bonds, you know, what that forms the bonds among people? What's the sort of implicit cultural social contract? I think it's the story of Horatio Alger. The robustness of American society, I think, is founded in that story, that social contract of possibility, of social mobility. Even when sociologists can show that social mobility from generation to generation is not that great in this country, if you look at the data, but the possibility of it and the celebration, the endorsement of it as a society is fundamental to this country.
The plan also deals with internationalization. Why is that important?
Everything is transnational, even as there is a greater degree of nationalism in some parts of the world. And those two things are not antithetical or even, I think, contradictory. I think they have something to do with each other. It's very important for our students to have a sense of the world in which they live and will live. Internationalization gets more attention here and elsewhere, rightly, than it did 30 years ago because the world has changed. The number of international students who come to campus is still relatively small, and that's, I think, clearly a desideratum to increase that. Faculty exchanges is another part of internationalization. The curriculum, we've made a lot of progress on the number of students who study abroad. I'd still like to see that number higher because I don't know if I've ever met a student in 25 plus years of teaching who, having gone abroad, didn't find it in some way transformative. I know that's an overused word, but You listen to them when they come back. It makes a huge difference.
In recent years, the college has seen reductions in state support. Does the budget affect the planning?
So we're in a period of uncertainty, some prospect of some budget cuts, but those things should not drive our thinking. Because at some point, your budget is finite. Whether you're in a prosperous period and you're an institution like Harvard or Princeton, or you're in a more uncertain period and you are a state university, it will always be finite. Former provost, University of Washington, whom I respected a great deal, he said, when you have more money than ideas, you're not ambitious enough. That was never going to be a problem at the University of Washington. I suspect it won't be a problem at William and Mary. So we will have to make decisions. There will have to be trade-offs, but we control those.